Awesome. So thanks again. After our tech problem, Logan. So we again, I feel like I've said this a lot, but you really are a lifesaver to us, helping us out with this. So we appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. So again, could you please explain sort of what you do with social media in Belmont?
Cool. I'm Belmont's web and digital media manager. So with that, I'm in charge of all web, social, and video things that happen at the university. And part of my responsibility is I'm chair of Belmont's social media administration team. So they're the folks from around campus that kind of administrate Belmont's flagship social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube, all of those fun things. And we're also kind of the leaders of social media around campus. We have partners around campus that, of course, run accounts for departments and such. So we also kind of help set guidelines and policy for social media across the university. So that's kind of what I do.
Awesome.
When it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So with all that sort of stuff, I was wondering if you could sort of talk about how quickly something that you or really anyone puts out on social media can go viral.
Well, things can go viral incredibly quickly, or not, depending on a lot of different factors. Folks, when they see something relevant, they tend to share, and things shared, essentially, you share with your user base, and then that user base, one person sharing it shares it with their user base, and then it kind of grows from there. I tend to think of things that go viral after the second or third level. So if your followers share it, it's not really viral. But once their followers start sharing it, and then those folks start sharing it, that's when you start getting into the hundreds of thousands to millions of people. Getting it.
I always thought it was really interesting to this whole 6 degrees of separation thing to see. It really does. It can spread that quickly, and that's just amazing to me.
Yeah, once people outside of your circle start sharing it, that's when it's really viral, and that can happen incredibly fast depending on what kind of content that has been posted. So.
Yeah. So speaking of that, can you monitor or see how many people your post reach within certain communities and areas? So X number of people in Nashville saw it, but X number of people in Smyrna saw it versus Hendersonville, things like that.
It really depends. Facebook and Twitter, both being incredibly popular networks, do provide analytics that tell you kind of how much reach something's gotten, how many people have seen it. It hasn't been super helpful in saying exactly where those people are from, but it has been. It is handy when we have a link or something like that within that post. Then we can, if it's a video on YouTube, we can go into YouTube and see demographics from that standpoint of the people who've watched the video. Or if it goes to a page on our website, like a news story or something like that, we can access Google Analytics and kind of see how much traffic that particular page or story has gotten. So there are ways, but they're not perfect. It's hard to say. Say we posted a picture to Facebook, it would be a little harder for us to see exactly where those things are coming from or where the traffic's gone. I'm pretty sure.
Awesome. So kind of going along those lines, what type of content do you see going viral most often?
Things that tend to go viral, at least in my experience, just looking at not just the university's accounts, but accounts that I see. Political things tend to go viral quickly. Just great, relevant content, things that people care about. One particular thing that I've watched go viral lately are folks' responses to the Black Lives Matter movement. And police violence. Those kinds of things go viral incredibly quickly. And the interesting thing is, it's not something that you see. You see a story hit, And then for days later, you see it over and over and over in your newsfeed. So it really matters on the kind of content. It has to be relevant. I mean, relevancy has so much to do, and it has to, touch, something that someone cares about before. And it has to have some critical mass too, in order to have that kind of thing happen. So, yeah.
And that's always really interesting to me, because I look at like when I first got on Facebook, when I was in high school, it was people sharing videos, like stereotypical cat videos and things like that. And now,
hey, cat videos are still a thing.
and I'm thankful for that, because I think we really need them in times like this when I get fresh. I'm not on social media often, and when I do get on, like I got on after the Orlando attacks, and I was all I saw for a few days. And I understand that's a very important thing, but sometimes it gets a little bit depressing. You're like, I really would. Someone please share me a meme or give me a cat video to boost my spirits up a little bit.
Agreed.
Yes.
It definitely makes me feel better. I have to subscribe to BuzzFeed has a great kind of thing that they do with animals and cats of the week and those kinds of things, and those always cheer me up. And it's always shareable content. Like it's always great clickbaity things.
Yeah.
And actually, clickbaity things tend to go viral more often than not. Because there's just it's easy, short, relevant content that people are interested in, whether it's lists or here's this funny cat that did something amazing, that kind of thing.
So what sort of limitations are there on social media sites, and do they, at least in your case, do they affect any of the content that you want to put out there?
Like, can you repeat the question? Sorry, I lost it.
No, you're totally fine.
Well, I know it's limitations, but what kind of limitations
is there content limitations that whether that's imposed by social media sites, or obviously Belmont has said you cannot post anything vulgar online,
right?
But is there anything that from the social media aspect, from the way those sites function, that prevents you from getting certain types of content out to certain areas, or are you able to reach pretty much anyone that you want to reach using social media?
Well, you can reach anyone you want to reach on Facebook through a page if you have money. Money tends to be the factor. One of the things that Facebook has done over the last few years is Facebook's newsfeed is becoming more and more like the algorithm changes from time to time, and that tends to be a thing. Anything that's algorithm based, especially when it comes to Facebook or Instagram these days, it's getting. You've got to get folks to share it, because you only get a couple thousand people of the 30,000 people that are following you to really latch on to the content. And you have to get those folks to share it, and that forces you to really try to make your content relevant. Now, with money, you can push things out like to whoever you want to, as many times as you want to, and that kind of breaks the algorithm problem. But the days of free content on Facebook reaching lots and lots of people, unless all of the content that you post is incredibly relevant and incredibly interesting and a lot of people share it, the reach isn't going to reach more than a few thousand, depending on how many people you're following. If you're a Harvard University with millions of followers, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of people to see content without really trying. But the smaller you are, the harder it is to get people, a significant number of people to see anything. Other limitations, we do limit the kinds of things that people post on social media. We have social media guidelines that essentially say, if you're posting violent things, or you're posting threats, or you're posting about drugs or copyrighted content, or you're using curse words. We have limitations on stuff there, mostly because I think with social media in general, you have a problem with people not empathizing with other people, and people tending to be mean.
Yes.
And that tends to be an issue on social media in general. People people tend to lose their political correctness, as they like to say, but I think in general, what they mean is they lose that common decency that we have and the ability to see the other person's face and understand that they're hurting people when doing so. So I think that's a limitation of social media in general, and also a limitation of just our culture. Like, our culture hasn't caught up with the technology yet.
Yes.
So, and eventually one day, I think it will be, faux pas for you to be a jerk face to someone else on the internet.
Yeah.
But we haven't, our culture hasn't caught up with the technology. And that's kind of a thing, and that probably will be a thing for a while.
Yeah.
New technologies will come out.
And it's such an interesting point too, because you look at the only website that I ever really enjoy is Reddit, and
Reddit's full of
and that's just the prime example of something like that, of people, a great place to share information, but it keep so many people spew so much hateful information on there, and then it's so easy to spread false information too. That it's such a shame that some of that content can go viral as well.
Well, when your face isn't there and your name isn't there, and you can't be held accountable for the things you say, it's easy to say anything that you want. And there's a freedom in that, and I see that that's good, and it is good. I mean, freedom of speech is an important piece, and anonymity is an important piece. I mean, the founding fathers of this country, when they released stuff, they released it under pen names. Anonymity is important. But at the same time, it has its downsides.
Absolutely. So really, it kind of going aligned with that anonymity. The last question that we really want to get your opinion on is what sort of language do you see attracting the sort of most views and clicks? Is it vitriolic? Is it overwhelmingly kind, or is it something that sort of just drags on and leaves you curious? What do you see in your line of work?
The things that we tend to share the most are the things that people care about. Usually shorter. The longer the post, usually the less people see things. There's that TLDR issue. Too long, didn't read. That is a thing.
Yes, it is.
But we find that relevant content that people care about, that even sometimes surprises them, tends to get the most kind of traffic. A great example is if we post a cover photo of a building at night, like for instance our cover photo right now, which is of the R. Milton and Denise Johnson Center at night. Simple photo, no description.
Yeah.
It had over 1,000 likes, which is great. That's huge. But a news story, sometimes doesn't catch that kind of thing, even though it's interesting and cool. But that's not always true. It just really depends. We posted something on Instagram of Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon Go is a big thing.
Yeah.
It got quite a bit of likes and comments, and that's relevant. That's great. Back when Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out, we posted. We got Dr. Schattinger to play some of the themes from Star Wars, the Star Wars theme song, Princess Leia's theme, the Force theme, and we got a crazy amount of interaction and engagement out of that. Also, we occasionally will have a drone come out to campus and shoot new buildings and kind of give you an idea of campus from a different perspective. Those always generate a lot too. So it depends. It really does on whether people think it's relevant, whether they think it's interesting, whether they think it's news, share worthy. It's more an art than a science, I'd say. But sometimes it is a science. BuzzFeed has made a killing off of creating a formula of shareable stuff. they do a great job of just making videos that people care about, even if they're completely useless in some cases.
Yes.
Like, you know, how to tell when you're from the Midwest, you know?
Yeah. Like,
So
it's always interesting seeing things like that. We kind of thought about these questions just because when you, we're obviously our project is on terrorism and social media, and just trying to figure out at the heart of why some of these things go viral and why so many people share such vitriolic message. Like you see ISIS's presence on Twitter just keeps growing and keeps expanding. And it really is just because of, you know, what, like you said earlier, when you hit that outer layer, it really does seem that that content can all of a sudden just get to anybody in the world. And that's a beautiful thing to share positive information, but at the same time, it's also terrifying. So
well,
it's very interesting.
I think in general, and this is not this is a reason why social media is a place where these kinds of things happen. Is if you really think about it, Facebook especially is an echo chamber. It really is. Facebook's algorithms show you the stuff that you care about, and that works for liberal folks, that works for conservative folks, that works for ISIS, that works for people who care about cats. I mean, it really is. I mean, you know, a friend of mine is a correspondent for the CBC, and because of that, I see a lot of CBC news. I mean, I really do, and it's I see it more than I follow a bunch of other news organizations, but you know, just because, you know, I have friends in Canada that work for them, I tend to see their stuff more often than not. And it really create. I mean, it's just an echo chamber. It really is, and that's how things go viral too, is because of those kinds of things, and it really makes them, you know, appear more often and get shared more.
Well, and it's so crazy that so much content can get out that way, and that really can just breed more. You know, so much. It really. I guess the phrase I'm trying to say is that it really creates a culture in and of itself, to where if you don't fit into this line of thought, then there's something the matter with you, because look at all these people who could show up in a row after each other that all agree with the same thing. What's the matter with you? So that's just a very interesting point that you made. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to finally join you all. I had to restart my computer. I don't know what happened.
We're glad that you're able to make it here at the end, Samhar. Thank you. So thanks again so much, Logan. We really do appreciate it. This conversation is just so fascinating, and there's so much that can happen in today's world. Do you? The last sort of thing I really want to get at is, and we asked the person that we interviewed, who was an expert in terrorism and social media, who studied that. What role do you see social media playing in responses to mass terrorist attacks and things along those lines? Just from your perspective as someone who works in that, you see after the Paris attacks, Facebook launched that feature saying we are okay. You can log in on Facebook. There's an attack happening today in Munich, and communication over the phone line was down, and I've seen people on Facebook that I know in Munich saying that, hey, I'm okay. Do you think the abilities that social media has to provide the safety for, or to show the safety of yourself to others is a good thing, or do you think social media in and of itself, because you can spread this vitriolic message, it really could be more of a negative thing?
Well, I tend to look at it this way. For the same reason that freedom of speech is what it is. Freedom of speech allows us to say whatever we want, regardless of, you know, what others think. And, you know, there are far more positives to that than there are negatives, even though there are negatives. I mean, many people would look at some of the stuff that happens with ISIS and such as, you know, a negative aspect. But at the same time, you know, the positive aspect of being able to, for instance, as you said, you know, see if someone's alive, or to create a more positive message that you release. I mean, Let's take the Paris attacks or the Belgium attacks, for instance, or even the Orlando attacks. The things that Facebook did beyond just, are we safe? Facebook would allow created a feature where you can change your profile picture to show solidarity. I still see people with Paris profile pictures, or Belgium, or we stand with Orlando, or things like that. I think that while there's a lot of negativity that happens on social media, the fact that social media allows us to create community with and share our thoughts and feelings and just just culture with each other, just far outweighs the bad. And yeah, it can seem a little silly sometimes. I mean, I personally think the whole little spat that blew up the internet between Taylor and Kanye and Kim Kardashian was just the most useless thing ever. I think for the most part, the good things that happen, especially when bad things happen on social media, just it makes me feel better about our world. It allows us a place to unite where we never had before. I have friends all across the country, across the world, and family across the world, and I could not connect with them all in one place like I can with, say, a Facebook or a Twitter or an Instagram. So I think, and it's not just because I'm obviously biased because I do social media for a living, but I really do think that the good outweighs the bad. It really does.
I would agree with you entirely on that. Awesome. So thank you so much, Logan. We really appreciate you taking the time out today to help us out with this and ask you some questions.
Oh, no problem.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end this official broadcast.
Thank you, Logan.
You're welcome. Sorry you had computer issues.
Yeah.